Diane, wearing an elegant cream-colored sweater, sat in an armchair on the balcony overlooking Charleston Harbor. In her hand was a steaming cup of tea. Her eyes were calm, yet held the storms of the past. She looked directly into the camera, breaking the fourth wall. Diane, her voice was deep. Calm, yet poignant sometimes. The people we love most are the ones who exploit us most cruelly. And when they inadvertently utter their true feelings, the world you've worked so hard to build will shatter into 100 pieces. She smiled softly, setting down her teacup. Diane, my name is Diane, and I'm 68 years old. Before I tell you about the week I turned my son's entire world upside down because of a single word from my daughter-in-law. Where are you watching this video from? Please leave your country or state in the comments. Now, let's rewind 3 years. The clock ticked. 5:30 a.m. Diane stepped out of the small, cramped garage at the back of the house and into the back door of her son's mansion. Wearing an apron, she began her work, cracking eggs, frying pancakes, mixing milk, and juicing fruit. 6:15 a.m. Ashley came down the stairs. Her hair was perfectly curled, her makeup meticulously applied. She scrolled through her phone as she walked, not even glancing at Diane. Ashley, in a monotone voice, thanks, Mom. Diane, remember to remind Emma to wear her high heels. She has dance class today. Oh, and on your way home, could you buy me a bottle of unsweetened organic almond milk? Ashley sat down at the table, took a sip of her juice, and then glued her eyes back to the screen. Mark came downstairs, hastily tied his tie, gave the two children quick kisses on the head, and then picked up the coffee Diane had prepared. Mark, we're going now, Mom. We have a meeting with a major partner for our restaurant chain today. Please remember to check the company's accounting records for me this afternoon. The new accountant keeps making mistakes. They rushed out the door like a whirlwind. The house was left with Diane, a battlefield of dishes, and two crying children. Diane was standing at the ground floor kitchen counter, her hands nimbly chopping onions to prepare the ingredients for her roasted chicken, her secret recipe that Ashley had urgently requested for tomorrow's VIP client tasting. The house's ventilation system carried the sounds from the second floor office down clearly. Ashley's giggling could be heard, Ashley's voice through the speaker. No, seriously, Jennifer. This is a perfect system. We don't spend a penny on nannies. Mark's mother lives in the garage apartment behind. She's basically on duty 24/7. Want to go out at night or go on business trips? Just throw the two kids to her and that's it. Diane froze. The knife stopped on the cutting board. She held her breath, looking up at the ceiling. Jennifer's voice through the computer. Doesn't your mother-in-law mind? She's getting old. Ashley's voice laughing loudly, her voice full of sarcasm. Annoying? What could she possibly do? She sold her house in Charleston and moved here to cling to you kids. Honestly, at her age, she has no friends, no hobbies, nothing to do. She just sits there waiting for us to boss her around so she feels useful. Diane's fingernails dug into the edge of the kitchen counter. Her face flushed, her heart pounding. Jennifer's voice. It sounds great. But what about your catering business? I heard it's booming lately. Ashley's voice. Oh, even better than that. Mark's mother runs half the core business. She founded the old company, so she knows all the suppliers, all the tricks of the trade. She does the bookkeeping, manages the inventory, and handles crises. We just have to dress nicely for the diplomatic work. Jennifer's voice. Wait. So she's babysitting for free and working for free? Are you living in a dream, Ashley? Ashley's voice smugly. Exactly. On paper, she has 40% of the shares until we pay off the $200,000 she lent us to start the business. But Mark said we can just restructure the contract later. His mother isn't familiar with complicated legal procedures. She's doing it out of love for her son. Mark sometimes feels guilty, but I told him she's doing it voluntarily. We're not forcing her. At her age, what else would she be doing? We're giving her a purpose in life. Crash. The onion in Diane's hand fell to the floor and rolled into a hidden corner. Diane stood motionless like a statue. Those words were like daggers piercing the self-respect of a woman who had dedicated 40 years of her life to building her career. She didn't cry. Her eyes shifted from pain to a terrifying coldness. The space was filled with the scent of old paperwork and luxurious oak wood. Lawyer Robert Martinez, wearing his reading glasses, flipped through the files provided by Diane. His face was stern. Lawyer Robert, Diane, you were too careless in signing these documents. But luckily, the careful habits of a seasoned businessman saved you. On all the contracts with the major supplier, you were the sole guarantor. The company's bank account required two signatures for transactions over $5,000. And most importantly, they haven't paid you a single cent of the $200,000 debt. Diane, her voice was firm, devoid of any weakness. What could I do, Robert? I don't want to demand the money with tears anymore. I want them to understand the value of kindness. Lawyer Robert, a cold, sharp smile. You have a choice. One option is to demand the money immediately, driving them into bankruptcy. The other is to activate the ownership clause, declare supreme operational control. As the founding shareholder holding 40% and the sole guarantor, you can freeze their entire system within 2 hours. Diane standing up, buttoning her vest. Let's do the second option. Today, I'm going to take back what's mine. Section 5. Mark in Ashley's living room. Ninth house was in chaos. Papers were scattered everywhere. Mark was frantically on the phone, his face pale. Ashley was typing on her computer until she cried. Diane opened the door and walked in, bringing Emma and Lucas with her. Ashley rushing forward, her voice shrill with anger. Mom, what the hell have you done? Why are the company accounts frozen? Why are all the suppliers canceling the meat and vegetable orders for tomorrow's event? They said they need Mom's written approval. Does Mom know tomorrow is a party for a huge corporation? We'll be sued to the point of bankruptcy. Diane calmly leading the 2 children towards the stairs. Emma, Lucas, go upstairs and play. Grandma will come up to hug you later. After the 2 children left, Diane turned back and looked directly at the young couple. Mark, his voice trembling, half angry, half pleading. Mom, what's going on? Why are you treating us like competitors? I'm your son, Diane. Diane laughs, a dry, harsh laugh. A son sitting idly by while his wife turns his own mother into a free commodity. A son colluding to turn his mother's 93 hours of work a week into a favor. Because she had nothing else to do? Ashley's face changed color. She understood the problem but still tried to argue stubbornly. Ashley, Mom, you eavesdropped on my phone calls? How despicable. And what did I say wrong? You volunteered to come here to help me. You gave me the startup money yourself. Now you're calculating the cost with your children? How selfish. Slap. A fiery slap rang out. Not from Diane, but from Mark. Mark looked at Ashley, his hand trembling. Mark shouting, shut up. Ashley, haven't you ruined this house enough already? Turning to Diane, kneeling down. Mom, I'm sorry. I was too selfish. I let convenience blind me. Please save the company this one time. Tomorrow we're doomed. Diane looking down at her son, her eyes filled with disappointment. It's too late. Mark, the notice of dissolution of the joint venture was sent out at 4 p.m. today. From tomorrow, Legacy Catering will cease to exist. I've withdrawn all the money I have the right to dispose of to settle my nominal contracts. Tomorrow, the clients will cancel their contracts with you because you won't have the ingredients. You won't have the chefs, things that rightfully belong to my recipes. Ashley shouting, you witch. Do you want to ruin your grandchildren's future? Diane approaching Ashley, whispering in her ear, her voice icy cold. My grandchildren's future lies in having parents who are hardworking and respectful, not parasites living off their grandmother's generosity. I'm giving you 90 days to pay off the $200,000 principal debt according to the installment plan my lawyer has provided. Otherwise, this house will be mine. Diane turned and walked away without looking back, leaving Ashley's bitter sobs and Mark's complete breakdown echoing in the room. Asterisk. Back to Diane in the present. Her face was rosier and more radiant. On the table was an unfinished landscape painting. Diane speaking to the audience. Things happened very quickly after that. They had to sell a luxury car, mortgage the house, and move to a smaller, cramped office to do everything themselves, from washing dishes to cleaning. They understood the value of hard work. Mark now visits me every Sunday with the grandchildren. He's grown up and knows how to make tea for his mother. And Ashley? We only maintain a polite, social relationship. Nothing more. Diane picked up her paintbrush and smiled peacefully. Diane got my life back. I went to exhibitions, painted, and joined the book club. I realized loving my children is instinctive, but protecting myself from their greed is rational. Never burn yourself out just to warm ungrateful people, even if they are your own flesh and blood. She raised her teacup, looked directly into the camera, and winked. Diane, thank you for listening to my story. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next glimpses of life. Have a peaceful day. Asterisk. Gone was the glamour of the past. The living room was empty, some of the expensive furniture having been sold. On the dining table were boxes of instant noodles and a pile of overdue bills. Ashley sat listlessly, her hair disheveled, her makeup gone. She was having a heated argument with her mother, Cheryl. Ashley screaming through tears, Mom, you said you'd lend me $20,000 to pay the contract penalty. Why are you going back on your word now? Alpha Corporation is threatening to take me to court. Cheryl speaking rudely, hands in her pockets. I thought Diane was just threatening, but she actually did it. My money is my retirement savings. I gave it to you kids, and who knows when I'll get it back from this rotten company. Go sort it out with your husband yourself. Cheryl stormed out, slamming the door shut. Just then, Mark walked in. He looked gaunt, his suit was baggy, and he carried a briefcase. Ashley grabs Mark's shirt. So? Did the bank extend the car loan? Mark pushes Ashley's hand away, his voice hoarse and utterly exhausted. They repossessed the car. They'll come to tow it away tomorrow, and this is an ultimatum from Mom's lawyer. If we don't pay the $2,000 principal installment this month, Mom will activate the foreclosure of this house. Ashley laughs maniacally. Is she really that cruel? Does she want to kick her son and grandchildren out onto the street? Mark, you're a man. You should be begging her, crying and pleading. Mark looks at Ashley with contempt. Cry? Do you know that for the past 3 years, Mom has worked as hard as 3 people combined without earning a single penny? While we go golfing and to the spa, Mom has to work herself to the bone cleaning up your mess. It's you. It's your greed and my weakness that have destroyed this family. I won't beg anymore. I'll go find work myself to pay off Mom's debts. Mark turned and went into the room, leaving Ashley to collapse on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably in her solitude. The clanging of dishes. The shouting of the chef. Mark, once the dapper CEO of Legacy Catering, now stood at the industrial sink in a faded t-shirt. His hands were blistered, greasy, and covered in dish soap. He worked as a kitchen assistant and dishwasher for a budget restaurant from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. to earn extra income. He glanced at the wall clock, 1:45 a.m. Mark leaned warily against the wall and pulled out his phone. He entered his bank account details and made a transfer, $2,000 to Diane Foster's account. The transaction description read, 4th month payment. I'm sorry, Mom. Seeing the successful transfer notification, Mark wiped the sweat from his forehead, a bitter but relieved smile appearing on his face. For the first time in his life, he understood the value of every penny earned through his own hard work. The space was bathed in light, filled with the soothing sounds of jazz music, and elegant guests strolled about with glasses of champagne. Beautiful oil paintings of Charleston coastal landscapes hung on the walls. The collection's nameplate read, The Rebirth, by artist Diane Foster. Diane, dressed in an elegant cobalt blue velvet dress and with her hair styled in an updo, was chatting happily with art critics. She smiled radiantly, a carefree smile, free from worries and anxieties. From the doorway, Mark led Emma and Lucas in. They were simply but neatly dressed. Emma exclaiming, Grandma, your paintings are so beautiful. Diane turned around, her face beaming. She bent down, opening her arms wide to embrace the 2 children, holding them tightly. Diane, hello. My darlings. Were you good at school today? Mark approaching timidly but with eyes full of respect. Congratulations on your exhibition, Mom. Your paintings are truly soulful. I didn't know you could paint so beautifully. Diane standing upright, looking at Mark. Her gaze softened but still maintaining an invisible distance. Thank you. Mark, when one frees their soul from unnecessary burdens, art will naturally find its way to them. Mark bowing his head, his voice lowered. We've sold the house and moved to a smaller rented apartment near Emma's school. Mom, Ashley has also gotten a part-time job at a supermarket. We are trying to stand on our own 2 feet. I transferred this month's money to your account on time. Diane looked at her son. She saw the calluses on his hands, the maturity and growth in his eyes, the look of a real man. No longer the overgrown child who relied on his mother. Diane placing her hand on Mark's shoulder, gently encouraging him. I know. That's good, Mark. Sometimes a painful fall teaches you the right path. Be a good father that Emma and Lucas can be proud of. Mark's eyes welled up with tears, and he nodded repeatedly. Diane returned to her familiar balcony corner. Behind her, the warm laughter of Emma and Lucas playing with toys in the living room echoed. Today was the weekend, and she had welcomed her grandchildren over entirely on schedule and of her own free will. She turned to look directly into the camera, her eyes filled with contentment. Diane, the narration's voice rises and falls, concluding the entire series. You see, the end of decisiveness isn't destruction, but rebirth. I didn't destroy my son's family. I simply returned them to where they belong so they could learn a lesson about gratitude. She took a sip of tea, gazing out at the golden sunset descending upon the sea. Diane, no. I am no longer a mother and grandmother exploited in the shadows. I am Diane, a free woman with my own career, my own passions, and the right to determine my own happiness. Love with all your heart, but keep a cool head. Never let anyone, not even those who share your blood, take your kindness for granted. Diane smiled, waving to the audience as the camera slowly zoomed out, capturing the image of an independent, proud woman against the Charleston sky. A touch of bitter self-reflection. Diane VO. Hello everyone. I'm Diane, 68 years old. Before I tell you about the week I single-handedly flattened my son and daughter-in-law's world, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever turned yourself into a household item in your children's own home? Please leave a comment letting me know which state or country you're listening to this story from. 3 years ago, I thought I was the happiest person in the world. Henry, my husband, passed away, leaving me a spiritual legacy and a renowned catering company in Charleston that I had built from scratch over 40 years. At that time, my son, Mark, and his wife, Ashley, were struggling in a cramped rented apartment, drowning in student debt when their first daughter, Emma, was born. Flashback image, Diane's old house, filled with memories, is marked sold. Diane VO, seeing my children suffer, any mother's heart would ache. I made a decision that my lawyer later called the madness of motherhood. I sold the house that Henry had lived in for half his life, used the money to pay off their debts, and bought them a new house with a garden. And me? I retreated to a small 35 square meter apartment converted from a garage behind their house. I told myself, I'm old now, I don't need a lot of space. Here, I save on babysitter costs and get to hug my grandchildren every day. But that was only the beginning of my giving. Sound, the rustling of pages, the frantic typing of keyboards, and the cries of a child. Diane VO, 6 months after Lucas was born. Seeing Ashley struggling to find catering services for her company, I had a big idea. I founded Legacy Catering and Events, a new branch handed over to her and her husband. I invested $200,000 in working capital, gave them all the exclusive recipes, the VIP supplier directory, and used the name Diane Foster to vouch for them with major corporations. I remember that day vividly. Mark cried, hugging me tightly, Mom, I don't know what to say. You've given me a new lease on life. And Ashley? She smiled. A smile that I only understood much later, not gratitude, but the triumph of someone who had just found a bottomless gold mine legally. I held 40% of the shares until they repaid the initial $200,000. Lawyer Robert warned me, Diane, you're being too careless. There must be a penalty clause if they're late. I brushed it off, Robert. That's my son, not a Wall Street partner, and that was the biggest mistake of my life. Audio. Alarm clock ringing repeatedly. Diane VO, my day started at 5:30 a.m. hearing my granddaughter wake up through the thin wall. I rushed into their main kitchen, frying eggs, making pancakes, cooking oatmeal. I personally packed Emma's lunchbox, meticulously drawing hearts and smiley faces on sticky notes. At 7 a.m., Ashley came downstairs, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She scrolled through her phone and said, Thanks, Diane, without even glancing at me. Mark quickly grabbed his coffee, kissed the children, and they both rushed to the car. The luxury car bought with the first cash flow from the company I founded for them. After dropping Emma off at kindergarten and keeping Lucas ready for class, I had exactly 4 hours free. You think I got to rest? No, those 4 hours I locked myself in the Legacy Catering office. I negotiated with suppliers, checked the books, planned menus for 500 guest events, and managed media crises. All for free. I became a grueling laborer branded as Grandma, Diane V. Oh, as Legacy Catering's revenue grew by double digits each quarter, their lives changed dramatically. They renovated the master bathroom with marble, went on vacation to the Bahamas, and me? I was still in the 35 square meter garage, the bathtub so small I could barely turn around. My savings dwindled because I was always the one paying for my niece's designer clothes, Emma's dance lessons, Lucas's organic milk. Disrespect began to creep in like tiny drops of poison. Initially, Ashley changed Mom, please help me to Diane. Remember to pick up the laundry and buy some organic almond milk later. She wasn't asking for favors anymore. She was ordering the staff around some nights. I'd hear them laughing and watching Netflix in the main house, while I hunched over folding mountains of laundry for the whole family under the dim yellow light. Mark would occasionally peek in, You've had a tough day, Mom, you're the best. Then he'd close the door. His praise was like a pat on the head for a well-behaved animal. The climax came one Tuesday afternoon, when I had just saved the company from a 5-figure contract cancellation lawsuit from an oil company because Ashley had made paperwork errors. I called Mark excitedly, I've settled the Chevron case, honey. On the other end of the line, Mark's voice was indifferent. The sound of his golf club clicking echoing. Mark over the phone, oh, really? That's great. But Mom, when you go pick Lucas up, please buy some more milk, we're out of milk. Diane VO, not a word of thanks for saving his fortune. Just a command to buy milk. I started to wonder, am I a mother, or am I a robot powered by love, programmed to serve for free? I quietly did something I never thought I'd do. I kept a timekeeping log. In a typical week, I worked 93 hours. That included 63 hours babysitting, 18 hours running the business, and 12 hours doing housework. 93 hours in exchange for invisibility when my sister called from Phoenix asking, Diane, are they treating you well? I remained silent. My sister sighed. Diane, you don't need to burn yourself out to warm others. Asterisk Diane opening parenthesis v.o. The day my world fell apart was a fateful Wednesday. I was in the main kitchen, chopping onions to prepare the ingredients for my secret recipe for roasted chicken. A dish Ashley needed for a VIP party tender tomorrow. Suddenly, Ashley's voice came from the second floor office through the kitchen vents. The acoustics in this house are terrible. And she was video calling her best friend Jennifer on speakerphone. Ashley O's smug voice coming through the vents. No, I'm serious, Jennifer. This is the most perfect trap in the world. My husband and I don't spend a penny on daycare or babysitters. Mark's mother is right in the back garage, ready to babysit 24/7. She's there whenever you call. Jennifer opening parenthesis O.S through the computer speakers, surprised voice. Oh, isn't she annoyed? Old people usually prefer quiet. Ashley opening parenthesis O.S laughs loudly, a hoarse laugh. What's so annoying? She moved here because she wanted to cling to her grandchildren. Besides, honestly, at her age, what else could she do? No friends, no hobbies. She just sits there waiting for us to boss her around so she feels useful. We're giving her a job and a purpose in life. Sound, Diane's knife shudders and falls to the floor. Jennifer Odes, that's great. What about the catering company? I heard she's excellent. Ashley Odes, wow, she's running half the business. From bookkeeping, warehousing, crisis management with suppliers. Mark and I just dress nicely, go out and collect the cash. Jennifer Os, but I heard she has shares. Ashley Odes, it's all just paperwork. On paper, we're only sharing profits after paying off the $200,000 principal debt. But Mark said we'll find a way to restructure the company and get rid of her. She's old, she doesn't know anything about modern corporate law. A few tears and complaints and she'll just sign whatever comes to mind. It saves me at least $3,000 a month on childcare, plus the money she spends on clothes and toys for the kids. Oh, having an old lady is more profitable than having a maid, Jennifer. Diane VOI stood frozen in the kitchen. No tears fell, but my chest ached as if someone had stabbed me with a knife. My sacrifice, my maternal love, the spirit of Henry, whose son I promised to care for. All of it was reduced to a simple economic calculation. It's more profitable to raise an old woman than a maid. I took off my apron and threw it straight into the trash. I walked straight to my garage apartment, turned off the baby monitor Ashley had given me so I could listen to the baby crying. 30 seconds later, my phone vibrated. A message from Ashley. Diane, go pick Lucas up, he's crying. I flipped the phone over. 1 call, 2 calls. Then a message from Mark. What are you doing, Mom? Ashley's in a meeting. Why aren't you holding the baby? I laughed out loud. It turned out that only when I stopped being their slave did they begin to realize my existence. Audio, the sound of a laptop keyboard typing quickly and decisively. Diane VO, they forgot one thing. Before being a gentle grandmother, I was Diane Foster, the woman who single-handedly defeated 3 of Charleston's biggest competitors to win the exclusive contract with City Hall. Did they think I was blind to the law? I opened my laptop and sent an urgent email to Robert Martinez, my seasoned lawyer. Robert, I want to activate all the protection clauses in the legacy catering contract. I want to get back what's mine immediately at 10 a.m. the next day. I donned my most elegant navy blue suit, the one I always wore when confronting the tycoons. At Robert's office, he looked at the stack of documents I brought and gave a cold smile. Lawyer Robert Diane, the kids have underestimated you too much. Because she was the guarantor for all contracts with the suppliers, and the company's bank account required her signature for transactions over $5,000. And especially because the $200,000 repayment deadline breach clause gave her the right to 1. Unilaterally recover the entire debt immediately. 2. If they failed to repay, she had the right to freeze the account and proceed with liquidation, dissolving the company. Which move would she make? Diane speaking firmly, without hesitation. I choose option 3. I will regain supreme control. Freeze all accounts, drain all my legitimate funds, and leave them to flounder in the quagmire of their own making. Asterisk Diane V. Oh, in just 2 hours on Thursday afternoon, I completely changed the situation. I changed the password for the online order management system. I changed the passwords for my business, email and social media accounts. I send official written notices to the 3 largest fresh food suppliers. I, Diane Foster, the sole guarantor, declare the termination of all credit lines for legacy catering. Any orders without my signature will not be paid. Finally, I went to the bank and withdrew the entire $47,000 in the joint account, the settlement money from last week's event, which I had personally conceived and executed. This money was entirely legal under the guise of recovering a portion of the principal debt. The consequences were immediate. By 2 p.m., my phone was practically exploding. 27 missed calls from Mark, 18 calls from Ashley. Mark's message, "Mom, are you crazy? Why are the suppliers canceling tomorrow's party order? The customers are threatening to sue." Ashley's message, "Diane, you have no right to freeze our account. Give us the money back immediately or I'll call the police." I turned off my phone. I booked a suite at a 5-star hotel in downtown Charleston. Treated myself to a glass of champagne and a massage I hadn't had in 3 years. Let them experience what it feels like when the ground beneath their feet crumbles. Diane V. 05 p.m. I turned on my phone. The first call wasn't from my daughter but from Emma's school, Mrs. Foster. It's an hour and a half past dismissal time and no parents have come to pick up the child. We can't get in touch with her parents. My heart sank. The children weren't to blame. They were so distraught over their company's collapse that they completely forgot to pick up their 5-year-old daughter. I immediately drove to the school, hugged the sobbing Emma, and then stopped by the neighbor's house to pick up Lucas, the child who was being temporarily looked after, because Ashley was frantically knocking on doors everywhere for help. When I led the 2 children into the main house, the scene before me was like a battlefield. Papers were scattered everywhere. Ashley was crying hysterically at the computer, her hair disheveled, and Mark was yelling into the phone. Seeing me, Ashley lunged at me like a wounded beast, Ashley shouting, her voice hoarse, "Here I am. Do you know what you've done? The company is bankrupt. The order for the 50-guest corporate party tomorrow is canceled. Because we don't have the ingredients. Our reputation is ruined. You're heartless. Do you want to kill your own son?" Diane putting her handbag down on the table calmly, her voice icy. "Ashley, shut up and go take care of your children. You forgot to pick Emma up from school today. You have no right to talk to me about morality." Mark rushing forward, kneeling at Diane's feet, sobbing, "Mom, I beg you. Why did you do this to us? We could have sat down and talked." Diana talked, "Mark? About how you treat me like a free servant? Or about how you plan to restructure the company to kick this 68-year-old woman out after you've squeezed all my labor and money dry?" The room suddenly fell silent. Ashley's face turned from bright red to deathly white, Mark stuttering, looking at his wife and then at his mother. "You heard, Diane. I heard every word from the kitchen vent yesterday. Ashley, you're right. I came here voluntarily because I love the children. But you've turned my love into a cheap commodity for you to exploit. You say you save $3,000 a month on childcare? You say I'm a friendless person with no purpose in life, so I have to cling to you?" I stood up straight, looking directly into my daughter-in-law's eyes. "Diane, today I'll tell you my purpose in life. I created this company, and I have the power to destroy it. You want to be the boss? Okay, let's be the owner of an empty shell with no money, no recipe, and no suppliers who would even look at our face." Diane VO. The legal battle lasted exactly 8 days. Under the sharp judgment of lawyer Robert, Legacy Catering and Events officially dissolved. Mark and his wife had to sell their luxury car to compensate clients whose events were canceled. They had to borrow heavily from Ashley's parents to establish a new, much smaller and more struggling business. Regarding my $200,000 debt, Robert forced them to sign a legally binding agreement. Every month, they had to transfer exactly $2,000 into my account for 10 years. It wasn't money I was demanding for my retirement, but the cash price for them to learn to respect the value of other people's labor. They had to sell their current house and move to a more modest apartment to cut costs. And me? I moved out of that cramped garage. I bought a small, sun-drenched apartment with a balcony overlooking the ocean in Mount Pleasant. Sound, the rustling of pages, the distant laughter of children. Diane VO. It's now 6 months since the incident. My sister from Phoenix is sitting next to me on the balcony. We're drinking tea and watching the sunset. My complexion has returned to normal. I've joined an art club and have true old friends, people who love me for who I am. Diane, not for being a free work machine. Every first of the month, my phone chimes, indicating I've received $2,000 from Mark's account. It's a rhythmic reminder that a mother's kindness is priceless, but once trampled upon, it becomes the most expensive debt a child will ever have to pay in their lifetime. I still see Emma and Lucas every Sunday. I took them out for ice cream, to the aquarium, and hugged them with all the love of a grandmother. But at exactly 5 p.m., I returned them to their parents. I went back home, closed the door, and enjoyed my own peace, freedom, and pride. Thank you for listening to my story. Never let anyone, even the people you love most, underestimate your existence. If you found this story helpful, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you all the best in taking control of your life.